Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Teacup for One Oscar Movie Marathon. My name is Matt, and I have 2 degrees, and it's my birthday. Hence the hat and the colorful, is it a lei? Yeah, the colorful lei. I mean, it doesn't go with any of the movies we're watching today, but it's my special day. So I'm going to wear whatever the bleep I want. And today's an extra special day because we are talking about not one, but 2 Oscar-nominated films. It's another double feature evening. And one of them just happens to be one of my favorite movies from last year, if not one of my favorite movies in a very long time. And the other movie exists, but whatever. Tonight we're talking about Wicked and Emilia, Perez. This has kind of been an underlying theme with this Oscar season. Like, both of these films are musicals. Wicked has a pretty huge fan base, and it's acquired a huge fan base just by merit of the existing Wicked fan base, the existing Wizard of Oz fan base, and then people who came to the franchise and to the fandom through the movie. And then there's Emilia Perez, which has been getting more love, more attention in the award circles than Wicked. And it's also a musical. Is it as good of a musical? We'll get there. Is it as good of a movie? Is it even a good movie? We'll get there. But first, let's see who we have joining us in the comments section. If you are watching tonight, please chime in, say your hellos. It looks like we have the usual suspects. We've got my cats and my mom. We've got Eliza. She liked Wicked. Her favorite characters were the flying monkeys. Eliza would like the flying monkeys. We have Sabrina. She liked the songs and the witches. Very good. And my mom, yeah, she loved it. I did watch it with my mom. I suspected she enjoyed it. I didn't realize she loved it. And yes, I've had a wonderful birthday. Actually, speaking of Wizard of Oz, I bought myself, I got some really great presents from family and friends, but I also bought myself a present. This is something, I recorded a pseudo unboxing video in my car that I'll probably post on Instagram or whatever, but I bought myself something that I have wanted for over 30 years. This is something that I tried so hard to get my hands on as a kid to absolutely no avail. And it's been an ongoing struggle. Like, it's something that I always sort of had the option to buy it on eBay, but the price has always been way too high or whatever. But like, circumstances aligned, I found a decently priced version of the thing I wanted. It's in nowhere near mint condition, but it's in workable condition. Are you ready? Most people probably didn't even know this existed. It is the Wizard of Oz Super Nintendo game. Yes, I've seen game reviews of this game, and apparently it's notoriously bad, but I don't care. I have wanted this for, I'm not kidding, over 30 years. And I finally have it. And it's the whole package. Like, I think it used to belong to like a video store. It has that video store vibe going for it. But typically, as I said, I've looked for this on eBay for years, and you can sometimes just get the cartridge. Sometimes you could just get the like box without the cartridge, but this has all the key components. It's got the box. It's got the instruction booklet, which is a lot more whimsical than I thought it was going to be. Like, it has pictures. It has full color pictures, and it's exciting. And then, of course, the game cartridge itself. I do have a Super Nintendo in my storage unit somewhere, so I'm going to find it, and I'm going to play it. And my 8-year-old self is going to be so happy. Anyway, yay! Ben's here. Hi, Ben. All right, so yes, tonight we're talking about Wicked and Emilia Perez. Ben, what did you think of Wicked and Emilia Perez? Let us know in the comments. Let's bring in our first guest for this evening. It's everyone's favorite. It's Jeanette, everybody.
Hello.
Hello, Jeanette. Welcome.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I got a fun hat. Oh, I didn't think of an opening question for today. Let me think. Would you rather be a witch or a drug lord?
A witch, obviously. I feel like that's pretty obvious, but yeah.
Yeah, that's the right answer.
Although I guess if you were the right person, you'd say Por qué no los dos. So
that's true, actually. Why not both? And I feel like Emilia could be a witch at the same time. Emilia had time. She had 4 years before she reunited with her family. She could have picked up some witchcraft. Who knows?
Yeah, I agree.
See, if only there was an Emilia Perez Super Nintendo.
Can you imagine the 8-bit music to Man to Woman, the Man to Woman song? Like, Do, 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 do.
That song. That goddamn song. Okay, well, let's dive into it. We're waiting for some more friends to join us, but they're going to be a little bit delayed. I have talked about Wicked on this channel a lot. There's a 3.5 hour long review just about that movie. So let's start with Emilia Perez. Then we'll get to Wicked in a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, Emilia Perez. It's it. You know, I went into
I agree.
I went into it expecting to hate it just from all of the stuff that I've heard about it leading up, especially like not even counting the controversies that have emerged with its lead actress, but even just kind of putting that aside.
Yeah.
My first intro to this movie was that clip that was circulating TikTok of like, it's very nice to meet you. I'd like to know about exchange operation. I see. And it's
I didn't know anything.
You didn't know about the
When
mansion.
I saw it, no, I didn't know anything. I literally thought this was going to be like Sicario. I thought this was like a drug lord movie, and that was it. Like, that was all I knew.
And it kind of was. And it also, I don't know
Sure.
what this movie was, but anyway, I went in totally prepped to hate it. And maybe because my expectations were so low, I ended up not hating it. I was just kind of meh about the whole thing. And the more I think about it, the more I really don't care for it. But I didn't have a visceral reaction, let's say, of like, I'm angry I'm watching this. I have not so much this Oscar season, but I have definitely had movie experiences where I've been angry about watching something. And
Yes.
not angry I saw this, but the more I think about it, the more I'm like maybe angry that I don't know.
I've never been, like you said, I've never been more confused, other than defining it as a musical, obviously. But I've never been more confused about what a movie is. And not in a bad way, even. I'm not like, oh, they didn't know what they were doing. They very much knew what they were doing. I don't know, really. Day to day, my opinion changes of it. The one thing that is for sure and for certain is that it's unique and that it stands out in my mind. Like,
yeah,
it is there. It's all, I'm like, all of it was something I'd never seen before. The type of musical, the type of story that I was like blown away.
Maybe that's for the best. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, hands down.
National feature.
I don't think there is what is it? I'm Still Here, which I have not seen yet, and that's also nominated for both Best Picture and Best International Feature. So they both are dual nominated, but I do think it'll be Emilia Perez.
Yeah. No, just with all the hype it's had thus far, I think it makes sense, and I think it's a notable enough award to acknowledge the movie, while still allowing something else to win Best Picture. Not Wicked, because as Kevin Davis has pointed out, they nominated it for nothing. It's not going to.
So, but
I
agree, but that is in and of itself an improvement that we've made it there in the Oscars, where we've made it to a time and place where they want to acknowledge a movie just because it did well and a lot of people saw it.
Yeah.
Like, we've finally made it there. I think Wakanda Forever kind of kicked that off a little bit, and Jordan Peele kind of knocked down those doors a little bit. But I think we are in a solid. The Substance and Wicked, I would say, are two movies that they were like, a lot of people saw these, a lot of people liked these. We're going to give them it. The Substance just happens to have the best actress in it. So
did a lot of people see The Substance though, or like, at least my experience, I hadn't heard of it until Oscar nominations came out.
There was I do follow a lot of horror circles, but it was a big, like, everybody was going to see it. I was like, God, I really have to see this. Jeez, and that's how I felt before I even knew it was nominated. I was like, I really need to see this.
Yeah, no, the only exposure I had to it was Alex mentioned it because his friend told him about it. And even just like his one-line description of it, I thought, I have no interest in this. I don't want to see this weird, scary sounding movie. And I stand by that. I watched it because I had to. And actually, I'm not mad that I watched it. Like I said, I think it's a well-made movie. It's just not one that I'm ever going to care to watch.
And it's not your cup of tea. And Emilia Perez is not going to be everybody's cup of tea.
Whose cup of tea is Emilia Perez, though?
Because, like, what I'm getting at, I'm like,
why was this movie made? I guess that's my question. It felt to me, and I described this to one of my coworkers when we were briefly discussing it. I wonder if she's watching. Hi, Emily. Emily said she was going to watch today. Yeah. To me, Emilia Perez felt like something that I would have seen written by one of my colleagues in high school for the Sears Drama Festival, which will mean a lot to the Ontario watchers, if any of them are here. It just felt like something that a child with no real life experience would write to try to seem deep.
Well, it got that kind of criticism from some of the very audiences that it was involving in its story, right? Like it got criticism from the Mexican community and it got criticism from the LGBTQ community. Not, I wouldn't say as much from LGBTQ community, more so what I saw was complaints from the Mexican community of like, wow, this is really stereotypical stuff here. But I mean, the whole movie, I think they did that thing where they went all the way. I was like, because I was kind of like, and then they just kept getting a little more ridiculous. And I was like, okay, well, if we're going to go in this direction, let's keep going in this direction.
It was just so ridiculous. Oh, but actually, I guess before we dive too far into it, because I know my mom and my cats haven't seen it. So I think let's backtrack and give a quick synopsis of what Emilia Perez is actually about. Let's play the game of describe it as though you're talking to a 5-year-old. So I'd like to welcome you, Jeanette. In 30 seconds, please describe Emilia Perez as though you're talking to a kindergarten.
Oh boy, there's a lot going on. Okay. All right. Yeah. So you have a nice lady who is in a like a government job, and then she gets taken privately to work for a drug lord, and then in turn of working for the drug lord finds out that she needs to help the drug lord transition to a woman, needs to get a sex change. Then there's stuff goes on with the family, and she has to relocate lots of people and then bring them back together and then protect them from each other. And then everybody dies.
Everybody dies. Oh, except for the nice lady, except for the nice government lady.
But except for the nice lady. But like, yeah. 3 of the 4 people die.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or 2, yeah. Yeah.
Well, 2.
2 of the 3. Yeah.
The pseudo girlfriend with the knife in her purse didn't die, did she? I lost track.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a fiery car crash.
I don't even know why she. Oh, well, yeah, she wasn't in the car though. She wasn't in the car.
Yeah.
Emilia's girlfriend. But yeah. If I were to describe this movie, I'd say you have a nice lady who helps another lady who is not so nice live her truest life, and seemingly that absolves her of all the murders that she did previously. And they're singing.
Various different types of singing.
Lots of singing.
Many different types.
All the different types of music. It's just, yeah. That was another thing about this damn movie. It's like, what? Almost feel like the movie was saying, oh, once she transitions, it cleans the slate and absolves her of everything that she did in her drug lord life. And even when like there's that scene when she's talking to Jesse, Jesse's like, oh, well, if I stayed with my husband, he would have cheated on me, and like I would have probably gone with another guy, and then he would have sent someone out to kill me. It's like this was clearly not a functional relationship. This was not a functional marriage. But then when it gets to the end, when Jesse realizes that Emilia is her former husband, then she gets emotional. I'm like, why are you emotional right now? Seemingly you didn't describe a very healthy relationship or marriage between
Maybe
the two.
she realizes that's why.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Okay.
Maybe she's like, oh, that's why you couldn't love me with your whole heart.
Even still,
there are
Emilia had a violent streak. Emilia,
people like to talk about the plot holes in the substance, and compared to Emilia Perez, they can eat a bag. Because I'm like, I sat there, like I said, I think about, that's the thing that makes this, like on my little thing, I have green dots, red dots, and black dots, right? And like Emilia Perez has a green dot because I find myself thinking about it a lot. So I'm like, well, it did something.
Speaking of doing something, look, it's Alex.
Something, Alex. Hey,
Alex. Welcome. Alex, are you ready to talk about Wicked for 3.5 hours again?
I probably could.
I
mean, I'm not. I wouldn't be excited to talk about Wicked for that long, but I like Wicked. I like Wicked.
Yeah, but well, we're gonna get there later, though. But no, welcome. We're talking about Emilia Perez first, since as I mentioned at the beginning, we have talked about Wicked on this channel a lot, and we will talk about Wicked. But let's start with Emilia Perez. But opening question, Alex, would you rather be a witch or a drug lord?
What's a witch mean? How are we defining witch?
Means you get to study at Shiz University, a witch within the Oz context. So you get to go through training with Michelle Yeoh, and then you get your magic exploited by the corrupt government.
Okay, but I have magic. I'm not Galinda, the magicless witch.
No.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'll totally be a witch. Of course.
Good answer. All right. So we'll put that aside for a second. I would also like to welcome you, Alex, in 30 seconds. Please describe Emilia Perez, the film, as though you're telling the plot to a 5-year-old child. You have 30 seconds. Go.
Sometimes people feel weird about the way that other people look at them and talk to them. You know, some boys feel like it'd be nice to maybe be a girl, and vice versa, and some girls feel like it'd be nice to be a boy in some way, and that applies to people who do really bad things too. All kinds of people might feel this way, and you know, there aren't really any restrictions there, any limits as far as we can tell. So this is a story about somebody who you might not expect. You know, it's not a stereotypical person who you might think would experience something like this. But I mean, that's the point. That's the you know, that's reality. There's all kinds of people who do all kinds of things, and in this case, really somebody who did a lot of bad things. You know, is kind of confused, or not confused, is going through this kind of experience, and so this movie's about that.
Nice.
Little person.
Well said. Okay, back to Emilia Perez. Okay, what do we think we're supposed to take away from this film? Like, why was this movie made? I think that's my big question I want to pose to those on screen and those watching in the chat. Like, that's what I'm struggling with. As I said, I didn't hate watching it, but I was definitely left with a sense of, I don't think this movie necessarily opened my eyes in any significant way. I see the value in, for example, having a film that has allowed the first transgender performer to get a a nomination for Best Actress, and that's cool. But in terms of the actual movie, what do I take away from it? Nothing. And like, what did it need to be a musical? That's another thing that I've been grappling with, because movie musicals are...
Well, it's an opera. It's an operetto, right? So that's where I do find the difference, even though it's got like mumble rap in it too. So like, I don't know, how that works.
The styles didn't mess with me, but like, none of the songs felt like they needed to be songs or needed to be there. Like, stylistically, there were moments that felt like Great Value brand Hamilton, or like No Name brand Hamilton, like just not as good, but trying to sound similar stylistically with some of the rapping.
Sure. Yeah. I feel you in that I don't really know if there's a distinct message, or if it's just a movie that is like, there's a few things you could take away here. Like Alex mentioned one thing that I think is a nice message to take away, is that even bad people can be in positions that maybe we tend to think, oh, well, someone's going through that and you want to be on their side, right? But they've done horrible things. Or like, you can take away whatever Zoe Saldana's going through. Like, do you stand by people's side even when you know they're not fabulous people, just because like you want to help them, or they are making you help them, and then you end up wanting to help, you know, like, I don't know. There's a lot. There's family values, you know? So like, I don't know that we're supposed to take away any one thing.
It's true. I guess just
a smoothie, Alex.
Sorry, you want a smoothie?
I said, yes. Are you making a smoothie?
I'm making it. I'm cleaning. I made a protein shake, and then I put water after I finish the shake, and I clean it. Like, I keep refilling it with water and shake it so that it like kind of cleans it.
Milk. It's like you're drinking like progressively more skimmed milk until it's just water.
Maybe
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah, it's my way of avoiding having to clean my shaker bottle every time I use it. So I just
That's
fill it
sweet.
with
Well,
water.
I mean, I feel like anything that you drink water out of is self-cleaning. Like a
Yeah, that's
cat.
not true. That's
No,
not true.
Yeah,
No.
it is though. Because you're gonna.
I mean, it's as self-cleaning as this kind of.
Yeah,
Maybe
you're
a little less.
water.
I mean, most glasses you don't like. Most people don't have a habit of like shaking the water around and like loosening whatever
like
schnitzel
this
might be
straw,
in
for
there.
example, every time I take a sip from this straw, it's cleaning with the water that I'm like sucking through it.
Yeah, but you're letting some water out, which is mixed with your like spittle and whatever's in your
But then
mouth.
as I suck more water cleans it. It's
Yeah,
and
health
that's what we're supposed to take away from Emilia Perez.
that's the water cycle.
I
Yes,
think I
more
think that might be on my side
more
here. but I don't
beneficial
know.
it is. That's what we take away from Emilia Perez. Yeah, Alex, what do you think we're supposed to take away from Emilia Perez? Or what did you get from it? Either one of those questions.
I mostly I'm very similar to your camp. Like I didn't really like when the movie ended. I kind of had questions from the narrative's perspective. Yeah, like I mean, I didn't think the movie like it was interesting that the movie was martyring was had this celebration of Emilia Perez, which makes sense within the narrative of the film, but as a as a takeaway for the audience, it is an interesting question of like, well, hang on, this person represents probably, we don't know for sure, but given that they're this like uber famous, potentially the most famous cartel overlord in Mexico, they're supposed like presumably they've done horrendous things or facilitated horrendous things that also presumably in a utilitarian sense aren't overshadowed by the good that they did once they transitioned and did their what was it, Lucienta or whatever, I forget what it was called, but that organization, right? So
yeah,
it begs that question, right, of like what is it, but it still makes sense, right? They didn't know who that Emilia was whatever that guy's name, like whatever whoever they were before they transitioned.
I think it's something like
Matinas or something. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And but no, so I had meta takeaways, right? Like I kind of was like, okay, so this is I don't know I didn't look any of the details up, but like I was like, okay, maybe this is like an all Mexican production, like a Mexican musical / operetta. So that's cool. It's a clearly a very like it's a trans story, so that's
I do
relevant.
love that they're like, oh, this is so Mexican, and then it was all filmed in France. They didn't even use like Mexican like.
It was devised from the mind of a French man, and it was filmed in France. And he was like,
"It is supposed to be melodramatic to some degree. Like it is supposed to be over the top and be like more of like a caricature of each thing that it is. I think, which might not be a great time to be doing caricatures of these things, but I found it interesting. I definitely didn't want to stop watching. I want to watch it again, but I have to be it's like I'm one of those have to be in the right mindset movies.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like I do want to see it again because it was entertaining. And personally, I'm totally down with Zoe Saldana getting supporting actress, even though much like Wicked, I feel like they both should have been nominated for lead. Like
I don't. That was another thing.
That's a thing they have in common for me in my mind. Like
in what world was Zoe Saldana the supporting, and in what world was Emilia's character the lead? I know the movie's called Emilia Perez, but the movie starts and ends with Zoe's character. I mean, granted, okay, that's not.
And it mostly follows her character too.
Like I feel like her character has kind of not. I guess Emilia does have a bigger arc, but does Emilia have? I don't know.
Well, I mean, she has.
But Zoe's around even when Emilia's not on the screen. Like we pretty much always have Zoe.
Like, yeah, there's like one or two scenes with like just like when Emilia's in her home or something, but it's mostly Zoe that we're following. So
yeah.
Like Zoe's the through line. Zoe's constant.
Yeah. She starts it, she ends it.
Yeah. I think in the category of supporting actress, I have not seen The Brutalist and I have not seen A Complete Unknown, but between the three others, I would definitely pick Zoe Saldana.
Interesting.
We'll get to why I wouldn't pick Ariana Grande in a little bit. But,
No, I gave it a lot of reflection, especially today, since I've like just recently finished Emilia, and my expectations really shaped how I viewed this movie, because going in, I was prepped to hate it, but also to love Zoe. And again, I didn't hate the movie, and I also didn't love Zoe as much as I thought I would. To me, she gave a very good, competent performance, but it was nothing that was above what I've seen her do in other things. Granted, I feel like some of her other performances might have been bogged down by like makeup or motion capture, whatever. It was cool to see her dancing. Like, that's a skill I didn't know she had.
Same.
Like, that was cool. Singing was nothing to write home about, but not bad. Like, to me, it was just a good Zoe.
I think if you had anybody in this movie that was a particularly good singer, other than Selena Gomez, but was it Selena? Yeah, right?
Yeah, it was Selena Gomez. Yeah.
I think if you had anybody who, like, the whole cast sounded good, it might have not come off the right way. They all felt like more human, and it felt more grounded. And I don't know. I at first that threw me off, and then I was like, I kind of like it about it a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't think that this, like, I didn't. To me, as far as I could tell, like, there's a similarity across the board with both the choreo and the singing, but like, to me, I didn't hear any bad singing. Like, I mean, I guess the worst singing that I heard was from Emilia Perez, but like, that was understandable.
But I also didn't mind it. I felt like her.
It wasn't. I didn't mind it either. But if we're talking about from like a technical perspective, it was like the least technical. I didn't hear anything bad from Zoe Saldana. It was just that most of what she was singing was like whispery, rappy stuff, which I think she worked really well on. And I also think that, like, she should be given kudos for like her agility, how quickly and precise she was saying those words, like singing, like rapping, as it were, at that speed is not an easy thing that anybody can do, I don't think. So I think I think like it's perfectly, or like, notable on Zoe Saldana's part. But I also don't think that, like, I don't care in the sense of, like, if I'm going to consider how good of an actor you are, I don't tend to care about those kinds of things. Like, even I guess like if you know, the actors who, like, whatever, like, I love Christian Bale, for example, and love, like, the transformations he's gone through in his career for his roles, as an example. But I don't, when it comes down to me evaluating his acting in a certain movie, I don't care about that stuff. Similarly, somebody who, like, learns to play piano or learns an instrument for the sake of role, to me, that's not good acting. That's just you, like, that's you learning a skill for the role, which is great, but anybody can learn a skill for a role.
The Academy might feel the same way. They've never given Johnny Depp one, have they?
What has Johnny Depp done?
Just like the same, almost like Christian Bale. Like,
okay, I see. Really, like, just transformative.
Done those things, done the hard things to.
I do feel like the argument was made, though, that Natalie Portman won because of what she learned ballet-wise for Black Swan, and then that was why it was part of the controversy when the real ballerina came out and said, like, it was actually me. And a part of her campaign that worked, evidently, was her being like, oh, look at all this real ballet I learned. And then that swayed people's
Interesting
vote. Yeah.
I mean, presumably, anyway, I don't know anything about that, but yeah, I didn't care about Natalie Portman playing. I mean, I cared, but I didn't care when it came to assessing her as an actress, right? And that's what I'm saying. So, like, for me, the things that I liked from Zoe Saldana, or that stood out the most from Zoe Saldana, were things, were not acting things in my mind. Like, I liked her singing and rapping, and I liked her choreography. Like, I appreciated her skillfulness in these areas. But that doesn't translate to me as, like, you know, let's give her an accolade for acting for that. I liked her acting. I think she did a good job. But yeah.
Do we think that musicals, trying to judge them for things like this, specifically the Oscars, but really any award show, do we think that when it's a musical, it makes it a little bit harder? A musical in a movie, not like at the Tonys, like specifically for movie ones. Do you think that when it's a musical, it makes it harder to judge acting?
No.
Like, it kind of muddies the water a little bit. For me, it does, just for the same reasons Alex just said. Like, how much of their ability am I taking into consideration, and how much of the acting, and just how it makes the story, like, how many of these elements, and it's like this whole other compound than what you have in a regular movie. A regular movie, like, whatever that might be. Like, in horror, honestly, like, it's kind of a similar thing. Like, how much am I taking into account, like how you die, how you fight, how you run? Like, there's choreography, much like there is in a musical. So these things that aren't, again, like regular movies, whatever we're going to count that as, like, I do find these added elements do confuse it for me sometimes when I'm just trying to sit here and like objectively be like, what is like, who should be the best one here?
Right. I think my stance on that, but also within the context of awards, is like, if I were personally allowed to vote, the criteria that I would vote on is I personally would take external things into consideration, because to my mind, if you're like in the pool of 5 people that are nominated for a best acting award, to me the acting is going to be on par for everybody, or should be in a perfect world. Like, they should all be well acted performances. And then I want to factor in other things that could have either been obstacles or things to heighten the performance that I feel merit getting an award. So like this year, for example, even though I don't think she's going to win, Cynthia Erivo, a thing that I would take into consideration is like, yes, she had to sing and she had to communicate the emotional journey through how she was singing. And like, if you watch interviews with her, it's just an additional part of her acting process that I think merits acknowledgement. Like her saying how on Jimmy Kimmel last week, she tracked Elphaba's emotional growth through how she was utilizing her voice to like start off with The Wizard and I in what she classified as like a very thin place, and then she found more vocal strength as the character found more strength, and then on top of that, like training herself physically to do stunt work and having to learn how to ground herself and sing while in a harness for flying, and like how to utilize the musculature differently to find the same sound. Like, all of those to me are things that merit give this person an award. Granted, for this year specifically, I would also give it to Demi, because I think she did equally good work for the like physical transformation that the character
and
had.
that's where I draw the similarities, because like there's so much physicality. Presume also in musicals that have choreography. Like, not all musicals, I would argue, like are as like, some are more dancey. This one had stunts for her, you know, but like some aren't so, you know, like I would say Sweeney Todd is not as physically demanding, at least in the movie variety, than like a Wicked or something that's more dancey, like that has big dance numbers and stuff. But then you have Demi Moore doing like writhing on the ground and like having to act hurt and frail, and you know, so it is interesting to see like how the extras come in of like the things they have to do over and above.
Yeah, like Anita in West Side is always kind of my go-to for the type of role and performance that I think merit getting an award, because traditionally that role has always gotten the relevant award, whether it's a Tony or an Oscar, for anyone who's played it in a capacity where they're eligible for those things. And it is, I think, a role that if you can do the things required of that role, then you deserve to get an award. Because like Anita specifically, what's required in terms of dancing is pretty high up there emotionally, like the emotional arc, singing, it requires a lot of you. And so yeah, that's sort of how I personally assess who I would cast my vote for if I were voting. So like for this year, it would be for me between Cynthia and Demi Moore, and I would give it to Demi Moore just with the thought of I'll vote for Cynthia next year for Wicked Part 2.
Right. While we're on the voting and the criteria, let me bring up a little spicy point. Maybe it's spicy, maybe it's not. Cynthia Erivo was full on, like, I agree with you. She fantastic acting, all of that, really made the role her own. I think Ariana Grande was the perfect person for the role. I think she has the physicality, the comedy, the voice, like she's got everything. But I think she's doing a Kristen Chenoweth impersonation, and I think she's doing it really freaking well, like really well. But that's the exact reason I don't think she deserves an Oscar.
Ooh,
I think she does it great. I wouldn't want anybody else in this movie, but it is like the biggest contract of like, but that's why I don't think you should get it, because you're even down to like she has this like almost like an actor playing an actor playing an act. Like she got this like background Southern drawl that is not part of Glenda. It's part of Kristen Chenoweth, but it's very present at points in. I'm like, and have you seen her do impersonations on late shows?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, duh, she can do it. So like, she's blew me away with it, but I was like, yeah, I'm like, that's
Interesting.
why you don't get it.
I didn't hear it as a Southern drawl. I heard it as a transatlantic thing, which I liked in the world of the movie as being like, since it's pseudo drawing inspiration from 1939 Wizard of Oz. Like even though I feel like maybe what I was hearing as transatlantic might actually be the Southern drawl thing.
But it's almost like not intended to be there, but it's background because she did it because she's listening to Chenoweth do it.
Yeah, Galinda. So I would say, like, without knowing the exact specific like instances that you're like thinking of or whatever, I would say that, like, I mean, I had a somewhat similar experience, Jeanette, like when I first like watched the movie and I heard Ariana, but there's a couple of things. One is that Galinda is a super, as like this is the case in a lot of musicals, like it's a very iconic role. So there are like elements, and they're just elements to the singing, to certain line deliveries, to certain comedic moments that Kristen Chenoweth originated and made so great. And it's one of those things that, like, kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like people will like,
Yeah.
I you know, there's in the history of, if you watch Galindas and you watch them do their thing, like, yeah, there are people who do things like take things as far on their own as they can. And, you know, as somebody who, as fans of Wicked, you'll be like, you might be like, you know, I like the old way, or that was neat, or whatever. But like, yeah, so like I think that probably plays a big part into it. And for Ariana, it's interesting because like I was pretty well on the same boat, but I was like, I can hear the things that Ariana can't do that Kristen Chenoweth did. Like there's,
Yeah.
you know, like there's some small stuff. Like Ariana is super versatile and super like
There's a couple
multi-talented.
glass breakers in there that we don't necessarily get. I feel like just a couple of times where I'm like, I feel like this would have been just
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And even not, yeah, even like just the yeah. There's certain technical things that Ariana's not quite there at, but no, yeah, I think that's probably potentially a big part of it, is that Ariana kind of had a choice of like, and I think between Galinda and Elphaba as well. I think Elphaba just the way she was originated and the way she's written has, even though what's her name? Adina, is that her name? Adina Menzel or whatever?
Yes, Mr. Travolta.
Thanks. Even though Adina Menzel also gave a very iconic performance and did things, there's something about Alpha's character that is just like there's a generality.
There's a little more versatility I think you can have. Just, you're right, because Chenoweth sounds so particular, it was unavoidable.
Well, but Galinda's also like, Galinda's just as a character, Galinda is this like type A, like precise, particular, like she's annoying in particular ways, she's funny in particular ways. Whereas Elphaba is kind of more generic in terms of like, she's gloomy, dark, you know, combative, you know, resistant, whatever. And there's more wiggle room in playing those things, I think, right? Just naturally, compared to like being the prim and proper, as it were, popular girl that Galinda is. So yeah, I think just I think in Ariana's like defense, I really loved Ariana, but I totally agree that she was doing a Kristen Chenoweth impression, and anyway, but yeah, I don't necessarily see it as like something that she should be knocked points for, because I wouldn't necessarily have wanted.
It was right for the movie for sure.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. But
yeah,
I mean, I would vote for, like, personally, she would get my Academy vote if I were in the Academy, but that's entirely based on preference. For the role and what she did. Like, I do agree that there is a lot of Kristen Chenoweth infusion into it, but I think it's also like Chenoweth set, like Alex said, like she set such a strong foundation for that character that's just kind of continued to be ingrained in it. And what I think Ariana did really well, which is why she would get my vote and why I would give her the award, is because I think when you're approaching material that's as well known as Wicked is, and like characters that are as iconic as Glinda and Elphaba are, I think it comes with so many challenges about like how much do you make it your own? How much do you pay tribute to what's come before you? And how do you do that while still serving the character? And the thing that I've come to really appreciate that Ariana did, that I didn't really think of when she was cast, because I was very much not on board when I heard the casting announcement. I was almost angry. I was like, they did one half legit casting with Cynthia, and I felt like Ariana was the studio like forcing its hand to say we need to sell tickets, so put Ariana Grande or someone like that in the movie. But just from all the interviews I've watched, she came into it as like the biggest Wicked fan who fought for the integrity of the material as a fan, to the point of like moving away from things that they wanted to do to take advantage of what she could bring to the role. Like they wanted to make Popular more pop music inspired, similar to like how Ariana is known to sing.
It's hilarious because it's the only pop, I feel, the only pop styled song in the whole freaking thing.
Oh yeah. But she shut it down right away. She was like, no, I don't want to do this as Ariana Grande playing Glinda. I want to play Glinda. And like there were other things too, like "The Wizard Will See You Now" is one of the lines in One Short Day that was initially cut, but then when she read the script, she called the director. She was like, "You have to put "The Wizard Will See You Now" back in there because like that's what the fans want." And so I feel like she just approached it with such a nuanced understanding of how important the character is to the fandom, let's say. And I think she did service to that while still putting in a performance that had a lot of depth and a lot of nuance. And granted, vocally, yeah, it was nowhere near as strong as Chenoweth or probably most of the Glindas that have done it on Broadway. Definitely not the current tour, but it's a different conversation for a different day. I didn't like that Glinda. But even still, the fact that she put in like years worth of vocal training to get her voice to sound even the way it did for the movie, for me, that checks my box of like, I would personally give that an award. Yeah.
Just not an Oscar award.
I don't know. I would give her
No, I know. I'm saying for me.
Oh, for you, yeah.
I'll give everybody all the awards.
Of course. Well, so,
you know,
then, Alex,
here's the "You Played Galinda This Year" award.
who would you give the Oscar to for supporting out of the nominations that you've seen or the nominees that you've seen?
I have no idea.
I think for you, it's her and Zoe Saldana. I don't know if you've seen the other ones.
It's,
you think that's the only two that
Conclave, The Brutalist, and A Complete Unknown are the other ones.
Oh, Conclave's that old woman, the mother
Isabella
superior?
Rossellini, who's in it for like
I'm not giving her any awards.
The one who's like, we nuns are supposed to stay silent, but we see everything.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's just these two.
And then if you saw A Complete Unknown, or if you saw The Brutalist.
No. No, okay, so if it's just these two, if it's just Zoe Saldana,
I'd say Zoe Saldana, but that's
or Ariana for sure. Sorry, Jeanette.
Well,
just because I like. I mean, it's because it comes. I mean, I guess
won't be upset if Ariana wins. I just have loved Zoe so long. I'm at the same point as I am with Demi, where I'm like, I would just really love to see him get an Oscar. Although Demi definitely deserves it. Like,
I agree, and I think I would be happy for. Okay, well, a few thoughts on this. I would be happy for Demi to win for this year, knowing that Cynthia can win for Wicked Part 2, and also feeling like that role deserves to win after the full arc of the second film. I feel like this is the right film for Ariana to win for. Like, based on what I know Glinda kind of has to do in Part 2, I don't think it's as interesting as what Glinda does in Part 1. So I think, like there's potential. Oh, really? Interesting.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, okay. Actually, maybe I disagree too. No, I don't know. No, I'll stand by what I said.
Now,
I think,
if let's say that these people had been about their senses and put Ariana and Cynthia both in
like leads,
and so then we would have gotten a lovely Michelle Yeoh, right?
Sure.
Interesting.
I feel Michelle Yeoh is supporting.
I thought her acting was better than either of the leads as far as just acting. Like, I understand the characters have all this stuff and all that.
Why? What did Michelle Yeoh do?
Yeah, what did Michelle Yeoh do?
I thought she was fantastic. No?
Oh, she was fantastic, but she was just being Michelle Yeoh.
She was just being Michelle Yeoh.
What did she do? Was she especially villainous or
she's a
subtle?
turncoat. I think if you can pull off turncoat that well.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
No,
thought
you
she
didn't.
was
But didn't
great.
we know that from the beginning? Wasn't it obvious? From the
No,
moment
well, no, Alex. That's the thing. For people who aren't as familiar with Wicked as we are,
I've watched
They-
it.
they
I
were-
watched
they
the
were
stage
fooled?
production one time on YouTube. So
Ah, man. Okay.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Michelle Yeoh doesn't like unless she's like in the one-off like roles.
she
Where
literally was a supporting actress, like the true definition of a supporting actress.
Anyway. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's an ongoing
interesting.
discussion of like what does supporting actually mean? Because if we look at the nomination,
I'm like, Michelle
especially
Yeoh is an actual supporting actress. In
Yeah.
this
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's no question that role
Yeah.
is a supporting actress.
It's
role.
there's a lot of this year, this madness with like the girl who plays Sue is classified as a supporting actor, which is the most easily understandable one. But
Oh,
even
yeah,
then,
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
I
nope.
personally feel like Demi Moore was. I think they're both equally supporting performances. 'Cause they're both.
Yeah, so that makes them both leads.
Yes. Yeah. They are one.
I'm
Never
like,
forget.
I think
Also,
there's 3 movies this year that did that split people up that shouldn't have been split up, and they just don't have enough spots, and they went, oh well, we're gonna split them up then.
after rewatching Wicked, I don't think he deserved to win whatsoever. But I'm actively angry that Jonathan Bailey was snubbed for Best Supporting, and what's his face from Honora got nominated for Best Supporting Actor. Ivan.
Yeah, that guy did not. Igor.
Igor.
That guy
Yeah.
did not need, which brought up one of the funniest lines in that movie. Igor is the ugly hunchback. Duh.
Exactly.
Sorry.
It's not
Wait,
even
Igor,
his fault.
Igor, wait, hold on. Who got snubbed?
I think Jonathan Bailey deserved a
Who's
nomination.
Jonathan Bailey?
Yeah,
Fiero.
which one is he?
Fuck Fiero.
No, that guy was just a
Igor a million times above
that
Fiero.
guy is a Costco brand James Marsden, and he wishes. He wishes.
James Marsden wishes. James Marsden could not do a flip the way Jonathan Bailey did.
Oh
10 years
wow!
ago he
Let's
could
give him
have.
an Oscar because he's an acrobat.
10 years ago
Oh
he could have.
wow! Yeah. How many years did he fucking train to do that in the movie?
I just was sitting
He doesn't
there
give a-
during Wicked going, I wish this was James Marsden 10 years ago. I really wish this was James Marsden. Like, I
James
just
Marsden
see it.
could never. James Marsden doesn't have the same charm.
Marsden would all over that boy's grave.
Yeah, this Jonathan Bailey's a flaccid shadow of something
Flaccid
interesting.
indeed.
What? He was fantastic. He was so
fine.
charming.
No,
I got nothing against him. I have no idea who he is. But I did keep thinking of James Marsden, and I was like, this boy is giving me James Marsden.
That boy won out that role over like 2 Jonas Brothers.
Well, I definitely would not want a Jonas brother in there. That's for sure. Oh yes,
I agree.
we died when we found that out during the movie. I was like, oh my god, I love it so much.
Well, actually, we've just kind of naturally segued into Wicked, but yeah, Jeanette, what are your opening thoughts on Wicked?
Oh, I got plenty that cover both of these things.
Okay.
Awards that cover both of these. Thoughts on Wicked? I watched it for the first time today. It was good. It got a black dot on my paper because it did nothing over and above what I expected it to do, but it perfectly satisfied that objective. I was like, this is exactly what I expected this to be. I own it now because they made me. So I guess I'll watch it again.
Yeah, you will. We'll watch it over.
But it's good. You said it's good. Why wouldn't you watch it again?
It's good. I feel like it's literally the definition of good. Like, I'm very happy with having watched it. I'm so happy that I didn't not watch it. Like,
happy that you own it. You can watch it again.
You can watch it as many times as you want now. All the time.
Yeah. So
did you watch it with your family? Did you watch it? How'd you? Yeah.
Well, I watched it with my husband, so now I can watch it with my daughter because I own it. So yeah, it was. I don't know. I mean, I had favorite parts. The second half of this film is exceedingly better than the first half of this film, in my opinion. Yeah, and yeah, I don't know. I know you can't change too much because it's an existing piece of art. I could have used even more of Ariana's comedy being brought out because I think it's a strong point for her. I really think she's even more. I think she's hilarious.
I feel like they threw in comedy anytime she was on screen.
Yeah, well, maybe because that's the best kind of acting she does, and that's fine. I think she's
Oh,
great.
yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it was good.
Did it not like reach into your chest and pull out your heart during the scene at the Ozdust ballroom when they started to dance? And then Elphaba cried. She wipes the tear away. She's like, "It's okay. It's okay." The dance.
It was getting extremely sapphic, and I was like, "Can we inject anything here?" No. So yeah, I mean, that was cool, but I didn't think
A little
that
forced, a little try
anything was.
hard.
I didn't think that anything was taken to a place where I didn't like. They didn't do anything crazy with imagery. They didn't do anything crazy with special effect. Not that I needed them to. It was fine. It was good. They took it to the point I expected them to. We'll talk about some of the things that I felt like detracted from it and kind of probably put it in the good territory and not the great territory.
Let's do it.
Eventually, you want to do that?
Actually, well, first I'll answer Disney Dado's question. What's left for part 2? All the songs were in part 1. This is a thing that I've said on the channel a few times, is that movie 2 is a risk, in my opinion, because I think Act 2 on stage is notoriously not that good. I think it's full of plot holes. I think it's really weak. And I think it just kind of exists as a novelty to show you how the decently developed story from Act 1 has been forced and pigeonholed into making you understand how it becomes Wizard of Oz in ways that don't make sense. So I think there's a lot of rewriting that needs to be done to make a standalone film based on Act 2 good. That said, the book / script from the stage show is kind of garbage. Well, that's being harsh, but I'll stick with it. The songs are better. So there's Thank Goodness, which is Glinda's song, which is really nice. As Long as You're Mine, which is the like hot and heavy wicked duet between Elphaba and Fiyero, where she finally says, "I feel wicked."
When they're getting it on.
When they're getting it on. Yeah, it's Blue Diamonds on a Green Field from the book. Because in the book, Fiyero is covered in blue diamond tattoos. So when they get it on, the writer describes it as blue diamonds on a green field, because
He puts his blue diamonds on her green field.
Yeah. So that's a thing. What else is in Act 2? There's a song that's not the soundtrack, the cast recording called Wicked Witch of the East, which everyone is really like the true Wicked fans are excited to finally have, hopefully, a professional recording of that. And then there's For Good. Oh, and No Good Deed. But like For Good is the song.
Yeah. That's the one I like from part 2 is
Yeah.
No Good Deed. And
Yeah, No Good Deed's a good
so like that's a dual song, right? Like it's together.
No Good Deed
Am
is
I wrong
solo.
about that?
For Good is the duet.
Oh, okay. But like, do the songs mash up together? Are they against each other? No. Okay.
Yeah, no.
I'm just remembering them.
The style does change with a No Good Deed. Like there are musical style changes, but yeah. So
Yeah, that would explain why I was sitting there, like, because I like I said, I only watched the stage production once, and I was kind of sitting there today. I'm like, oh, so that guy turns into who again? Oh yeah, wait, he's gonna be the Tin Man, and he's gonna be the Scarecrow. Wait, hold on, no, and like it was all getting jumbled up, and I'm like, yeah, the second part is a little shaky.
That's one of the things that I find really entertaining is all the people that are actively trying to avoid spoilers for Wicked Part 2. Like I've heard of people who like have gone to see it on Broadway and left at intermission. And the ushers were like, "No, there's a part." And like these girls apparently were in full Glinda and Elphaba costumes. They were like, "We know there's a part 2, but we don't want spoilers. We're gonna come back next year after we see the second movie."
Doesn't work that way. You're gonna have to buy your ticket again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh yes, that's right. There's also this really forgettable song that the Wizard sings called "Wonderful."
Oh yeah.
Oh, and they're adding 2 new songs, so that explains a lot because the second part doesn't have as many songs that people are like, yeah.
Yeah, and I think Ariana wrote one of them, and Cynthia co-wrote the other one. So
co-wrote with Ariana, or
I don't know. I think probably with Steven Schwartz would be my assumption.
Gotcha.
Cool. Yeah. Well, that's nice. I'm glad they had their hands in it. There'll be more heart to it.
Maybe. I'm always iffy when a movie musical adaptation has a new song that's written by somebody else, because I feel like stylistically there's always a bit of a clash. That's kind of like when I saw the Color Purple movie musical, which wasn't that great of a film, but I don't know the musical that well, but one specific song showed up and I thought something doesn't feel right here. Then I went back after the fact and found out that Halle Bailey, aka Little Mermaid, she wrote that song for the movie because they asked her to, and it just all made sense. I was like, that.
Yeah, not that it's bad, it just doesn't match the format or the style.
Yeah, we'll see, because you were singing the praises of Ariana in terms of how, like, how much of an understanding she has of the fandom and whatnot, and
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
so
I couldn't imagine. Now I couldn't imagine anybody like she was perfect. I don't think they could have found anybody else more perfect.
I mean, I
Yeah.
still stand by my
Well,
choice.
I don't know. I maybe
Arc.
would have put Sabrina Carpenter in there now if we're
No,
gonna
I
put
think
the
she's
pop
too
star.
young. I think she's
Just
too young.
because she just looks so right. I don't know. And she
And
sounds so good.
I'm very pro.
And
Sabrina
she's funny.
Carpenter's Rapunzel. Like, I want her to be Tangled, live action Tangled. If that movie has to exist, I want Sabrina
I don't know
Carpenter.
if I've seen
Yeah.
this actress do anything.
Sabrina Carpenter?
She's a singer. Because
Oh, she's
she's
not an
a
actor.
singer. Yeah.
No, she was Katie in Mean Girls on Broadway for 2 shows. Then it was shut down because of the Corona situation.
Was she really?
Yeah.
Huh. Oh, she'd be great in Heathers too. Sorry, I took us in a different direction. I was just
Yeah, I
like,
don't know.
I'd really like to see. I just want to see her in the outfits.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes, I think it is a risk to make this movie in 2 parts, Disney Dado, but I'm hoping it pays off. And I have confidence it will, because I think
Yeah.
John M. Chu is a very smart person. And so I hope.
he seems to be a really good collaborator.
Yeah.
Like because he obviously listened to Ariana on the things that she asked for, right? So that bodes well, I think.
Yeah, no, and I said this when Matt and I discussed the film. Like, the first part, like, has added a bunch of extra content that the musical never had, right? And so I think, I guess by virtue of that, and also just how, like, great / good the first movie like what is, in terms of just how narratively how well it worked, and how well it translated from musical to screen. I think that we have a lot of, like, that's a pretty good reason already. Like, I mean, I guess you'd say, oh, the amount of times, like, a series or a trilogy has started off with a good film and then, like, gone to hell afterwards. Like, sure, but I don't know. There's something about the success of Wicked that, like, makes me feel really optimistic about the second part. Like, I just feel like it'd be really, and again, a big part of that is that they made changes, like, not changes in terms of, like, utterly shifting one thing, like 180-degree changes, but they incorporated new elements that just helped flesh out the world and make sense of things and whatnot. So, like, I just think given that they're already doing that, it's hard to imagine that they do a part 2 that incorporates, like, significant nonsensical details, let's say, like that just simply carries the plot holes that, like, the second act does. Granted, I like Wicked, the second act of Wicked. I agree that there's, like, plot holes.
I like watching it. Don't get me wrong. I like watching this.
Yeah, and experiencing it, and I think it has, but, like, so I think there's, I think they have all the tools they need, and there's no reason to doubt that, like, the second part's going to be anything short of good. Hopefully it'll be great, but I think at the very least it'll be fine.
I think the second part will be interesting just because I feel like they have to reinvent a lot. And I think the biggest challenge that they have is the crossover into Wizard of Oz, because I think on stage they kind of evade it. Like, you only see little hints of Wizard of Oz imagery on stage in Wicked. Like, the lion you don't see grown up, you just see his tail from off stage. The Scarecrow and Tin Man, technically you do see them kind of full body, but it's so comparatively brief. Like, Dorothy is just a shadow, whereas I think those are things that they can't get away from in the second movie. Like, and they've been
I don't think they want to.
They've been so secretive about Dorothy as well, which is interesting. Like, they won't say who it is. When they're asked who the actor is, they purposely skate around it. And we think we've figured, I speak like I'm part of a club, but I kind of am. We think we've figured it out. And that girl was questioned on a red carpet, and she gave one of those, like, nonsensical answers that kind of didn't say yes or no. They were like, have you heard that people think you're Dorothy? She was like, I have heard the rumors, and that would be so cool, if I was Dorothy, because I love Ariana. And
Saoirse Ronan?
No.
Oh.
No, it's
I thought I was like, is it Saoirse Ronan?
No, it's her name is Alicia Weir. She was Matilda in the Matilda movie musical.
Oh.
Yeah,
like in the old one?
She was Abigail in the little girl vampire movie. If anyone saw Abigail.
Oh,
no.
Little Abigail.
It came out within the last year. She's like Dracula's daughter or something.
Yeah.
She like does ballet and then sucks blood on people. Anyway, she's like a singing, dancing professional actor.
2024. Anyway.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, like, they won't answer if how much of the movie Dorothy is actually in, but that just leads me to believe that there's going to be a lot of legit Wizard of Oz woven into the second half in a way that will be very different from on stage that I hope works. Because if it doesn't, it'll bomb.
I found it interesting at the beginning of this one, they show them walking on the yellow brick road.
Yeah.
And it kind of threw it for me because I'm like, so when is that taking place? They're walking, but then what's happening in Oz at that? Like for some, because the timeline was off for me. I was like, wait, I thought two of these guys turned into those guys, and
right.
so that threw it off for me. I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's just because all of the opening sequence up until you see the title card Wicked is meant to take place post melting. Like the first image we see is the hat on the ground, and like Glinda's saying the witch is dead. So it's.
I guess that's why I'm like, why do we see them walking to Oz then?
Because they're leaving the witch's castle with the broom. Like they just killed the witch and they're going back to the wizard because the wizard says.
Okay, that makes okay. I was like, because that threw me for a second, and I loved it. I loved that little touch. I was like, oh, that's so cool. Look at that. But yeah, okay. Well, that explains a lot. All right.
Yeah. Even though it is kind of weird that they're on the yellow brick road, because actually it's not, because in this movie he does say all roads will lead to the Emerald City. But in the 1939 movie, there's no yellow brick road that goes into Winky Country. So there it is. Yeah. Yeah, we love Winky Country.
Do we want to talk about all the things that these two films are nominated for together?
Yes.
And like just because there's so many, and but one that they're not nominated for together, but I'd love to hear what everybody thinks. I had thought going into this maybe Nosferatu was hands down going to get best costume design, but I mean this is getting best costume design, right? I would think.
I would hope. What else is nominated though? Because like my boys don't want this to win everything, but
it's Wicked, Nosferatu, which I think are the two leads on this. Gladiator 2, Conclave, or A Complete Unknown.
Oh yeah, we did talk about this for Conclave briefly.
Yeah, I don't think Conclave in any world deserves best costume.
Costumes.
Yeah.
I mean,
I feel like Wicked. I don't know. Now that I've seen it, I'm like, how do you?
They designed a lot of stuff for Wicked.
Yeah.
I think with Wicked, my natural inclination is because my heart wants Wicked to win everything. I try to be extra objective and question like, would Wicked actually, does it deserve it, and why wouldn't it? And my thought goes to, like, I've heard the argument made more so for makeup, but I think it applies to costumes as well, that real life period pieces or like cultural things are harder to pull off than
I've heard of
and so in that realm I can see a case to be made for Complete Unknown or to be made for Conclave.
How sad would that be if things like Nosferatu and Wicked, like with beautiful unique costumes, were nominated, and then if something like A Complete Unknown where people wearing jeans and plaids, like, get out of here.
I mean, but that said, I would love to see Wicked win because I think there's so much artistry behind it.
The Oz dance scene alone.
Oh my god, yeah.
Like those little water squishy guys. Right there. That's enough. The big round latex green and yellow guys that were like splashing in the water. Oh my god, I just love them so much. I just want like a pop doll of those guys.
Are these just like what are they like
they were Ozians.
I don't know. City? Do you mean in the Emerald City?
They were in the Emerald City, yeah.
Okay, I thought the dance, like the Oz.
Oh, you meant the Oz Dust dance scene, like the
No.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think one thing that Wicked did really nicely is, and it's not too obvious, but like Oz, at least in the original book series, and they do allude to it in this film as well, like it is broken up into 4 quadrants plus Emerald City, and each land has its own distinct culture as outlined in the books. And they don't necessarily take a ton of inspiration literally from the books in terms of like color scheme or what it's meant to look like, but I think they did tap into having like a cultural identity that's kind of ingrained into the costume design. Like the Munchkins have such a distinct look to them,
all the kids are in the different uniforms, and it kind of gives that like Hogwarts house feel, but it is that, right? It's that whole like they come from the different lands. Yeah, I thought that was really neat. I loved that.
Yeah, so there's a lot of like imaginary cultural identity within the costumes, plus the fact that they just all looked really beautiful.
Yeah.
I would not give it the Oscar just because I hate Glinda's bubble dress. I'll say that right now. The pink nonsense at the beginning, I don't like it. That's my hot
Oh,
take.
I just love how many. There's a lot. There's just a lot. Like, and they're all beautiful and they're all unique.
A lot
Michelle
of
Yeoh's
outfits.
outfits are my favorites. Those
Oh
are
yeah,
my favorite outfits, which is funny. You'd think it'd be Elphaba's outfits. I love a little overall dress. I do love an overall dress. That's adorable. But yeah, Michelle Yeoh's outfits. I'll take those high collars. Like it's giving very tall Gaga.
no, everything people wear in Oz, just all the green outfits, I loved.
I thought this movie tackled even up against something like The Wiz. Like this movie tackled the Oz outfits. My favorite. This is probably
Interesting.
my favorite Oz outfits ever. And I think up until now it was The Wiz, as far as like Ozian outfits.
You mean like Emerald City specific Ozian, like the people?
Yes, yeah. The Emerald
Yeah.
City people, yeah.
Yeah.
The green outfits.
Yeah, no, I think I agree. I think Jeff Goldblum's outfit is my favorite wizard outfit out of all the, and it's
So scrumptious.
it's shocking to me that it took this long for like a movie to have a wizard outfitted in almost entirely green, because usually he's in black and white with like maybe a few green
Yeah.
pops.
Oh man, you know who we're leaving out here? James Franco.
Yeah,
No, I'm
justice for James Franco.
oh, maybe.
Oh wow,
He's not canceled for me. I don't think he's. I'm just like maybe I'm somewhere in the middle.
Right. I can't believe I just said that. That's on the internet now.
It was a joke. Everything we say here that's in a specific.
Yeah.
What happened with James Franco? What do?
What did
Use Google.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was one that they're not both nominated for. That is just something that I feel really strongly about that they should get now. So one of the things that they're both nominated for is film editing. How do we feel one way or the other on editing on both of these?
There was one shitty edit in Emilia Perez that I noted.
Which one?
Which was that?
I don't remember, but it was I think it was on Zoe Saldana's character, and she's like sitting somewhere, and then it just like cuts, like she's gone from like this like just the end of the scene, and then it cuts to.
I think I remember that. No,
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding. I think I remember.
Yeah, of course. Everybody would remember it. It's such a shitty little cut. It's like, why do they do that? No reason.
I was gonna say, I think with as much CGI as Wicked has, like out of those two films up against each other, I feel like you have to give it to that. Just to me, that seems so much harder to edit.
Yeah, I feel like the musical pacing for Wicked was better in terms of editing. Like the edits, I think, complemented the score really nicely, but I think that's also by merit of Wicked having significantly better music, in my opinion. That is easier to cut to. Like, What Is the Ceiling comes to mind specifically as a really, like, it's a very flashily edited scene where the editing is the core of that sequence, but I feel like it does it so well in What Is This Feeling? And then the subtler edits too. I think Wicked is a well-paced movie. It's not a movie that would come to mind as like a movie that had incredible editing, but looking at what else it's up against, Conclave, Enora, The Brutalist.
Yeah,
well,
I would.
4 hours long, so no.
I would say Enora had pretty good. I liked Enora's editing. Out of all of these films, I would give it to that one. But between Emilia Perez and Wicked, I would give it to Wicked.
Yeah, I think.
What's another one? There was another one that was like really. Score. I'm almost like, how do you not give it to Wicked?
Yeah.
But then again, and what ticks me off too is freaking Substance isn't on there. And I feel like that had one of the most unique scores. I don't know. That just like, I literally turn that score on when I'm at work to listen to while I'm working. like I'm like, I love this. Yeah, I don't know. I would have loved to have seen the Substance on there, but between these two, I'm just like, how do you not give it to Wicked?
I would give that to Wicked in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Or it like this is original
score, not song. Yeah, so original score.
Music, like the music that's underscoring.
Yeah. It's most. Okay, so that wouldn't apply to like even the songs in Emilia. Score wouldn't apply to that.
Yeah, well, while we're
chatting.
Wait, I just noticed something while we're on the topic. How does Emilia Perez have 2 songs? Oh, is this not considered an original? So it can't be nominated, right? Because they're not technically original songs.
For
But then
Wicked?
how's it nominated for score? No,
For
it isn't.
Emilia?
Amelia Perez is nominated for 2 songs. Wicked has no songs nominated. How does
Yeah, because
Wicked
there were
not have?
no original songs written for Wicked, but I think the score would have had to be an original composition for like what's underscoring the scenes and whatever.
Oh, okay. I was like,
Yeah.
wait, how does the score not get nominated? Like, I didn't know Wicked had no songs nominated. That kind of just blew my mind.
Well, because as Matt said, they're
It's
not
not-
original. So,
But in the next movie, they could, right? Because there's going to be 2 original songs. Okay, okay.
yeah.
That's
But
not.
there were
Jeez.
non-original. There were non-original songs in Emilia. That's interesting.
No, there's 2.
No, I know, but
2
they're
originals.
2 original. But there were more than 2 songs.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there
Oh,
was
because it was
non-original.
already an operetto, and it was.
Oh,
It was
okay.
already an
Technically, every
existing
song
piece.
in Emilia would have been eligible to be nominated for best song because it was all composed for the movie. And I think that's like the main guideline.
Well,
But
it did
Jeanette's
exist. It
saying
was a
only
piece
2.
that existed.
Oh, it was?
2
Yeah,
songs were nominated, but I think because it says on the Wikipedia anyway that it was an opera. It was the guy's operetto.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so I wonder. But yeah, it's El Mal and Mi Camino, which I meant to call. Okay, so like I'm just wondering. I don't know.
Gynoplasty wasn't nominated? That's a travesty.
Well, and I assume it's because it's in the operetto. That's the only. I'm like, that has to be nominated. That would be the best song in the whole movie.
Imagine if, well, I know they're not doing live performances this year, but imagine if it was nominated and we got to
please.
watch it performed live.
Imagine if Conan does a spoof of it at the beginning of the show.
Conan's
oh my God.
hosting.
I don't think he would dare. He'd get taken down in a heartbeat by the LGBTQ community. But like, I think it would be funny personally. Yeah. What's another? Makeup and hairstyling. So this is where I become very confused on many fronts, right?
Mm-hmm.
The makeup in Emilia Perez at the beginning.
With Emilia Perez's character, with Martinez or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
I'm
good.
like,
That's
that
good.
was really good. But the hairstyling alone in Wicked makes me think like, oh, well, you got all the hairstyling.
Yeah.
Like, you did the hair.
I mean, between these 2, I would give it to Wicked. Overall, I would give it to Substance for reasons we discussed in Substance Week.
Yeah.
But between these 2, I especially even today or earlier today, I was watching an interview with Alex Brooks, the cinematographer. And I'll just say again, hashtag for Alice Brooks. I don't know a ton about cinematography, but I still think she was snubbed, but maybe we'll discuss that later. But so much effort went into making her green, more so than I think people, including me, realized.
And it looked very good and non-distracting. It was really good.
Like to a point where they didn't know, like at least from a cinematography angle, she was saying that she didn't know if they would be able to actually go with Cynthia's desire to be physically green, because they gave her the option when she was cast. She was like, I want green makeup. And then just for lighting purposes, in doing the lighting tests, like she was finding that they could only use, I think, like blue or cool colored lights in order for the green makeup to reflect the way that she wanted to. But then they had to find like some kind of discontinued makeup foundation that was only made in Canada that was able to balance the green tone in such a way that it could show up under any lighting conditions. And just like so many things that you don't even think of to make something look so seemingly natural the way that I think her greenness does. And again, by my merits and like how I would personally vote, I would give it to Wicked over Emilia for that. But
this week for sure, I would give it to Wicked. But the Emilia, I had to point out, like the makeup at the beginning of Emilia Perez is because it took me a solid time after she came on after the transition for me to go, oh crap, that was the same person.
Right.
It was way over my head, and I was like, oh crap, that was them with makeup. Holy smokes. Like, that was really good makeup. Especially to like talk through.
Right.
Like, that's wild. I've watched a lot of makeup effects shows in my life, and I really enjoy, that was fantastic. Especially to get like skin of like lived in skin. Like, I'm not trying to look like a porcelain, like a supermodel or something, like drug lord skin.
No,
it's really tough.
And actually that's what really surprised me was seeing her out. Well, granted, I had enough of a sense of what she looked like out of makeup just from like seeing interviews and whatever, but I was seeing it like so closely to seeing what the makeup looked like. I was like, oh my God, your skin, it's radiant. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, and it's just wild. And like, also, like, she's not a petite woman. And so like to not have that makeup look monstrous over them is like, that's, I don't know. I was really, really blown away. But yes, in the end, I would give it to Wicked because they just literally did all the hairstyling that I've ever seen in one movie.
Toss,
That was,
toss. We toss
toss,
our
toss.
hair.
Now, what about sound?
Sound. This is
I
again a
think this
thing
is
that
an
I don't know.
interesting category, especially when it's a musical.
Yeah, I think we've brought up previously. I would give it to Wicked by merit of knowing that there was some component of live singing alongside pre-recorded, and for me, it sounded pretty seamless. And I think it lent itself to some really good, beautiful acting moments that they wouldn't have been able to capture otherwise. So, in terms of serving the movie overall, but also being really technically competent, yeah, my instinct would be to give it to Wicked.
Yeah. Sound. Most years I would say Dune, but
That's a
yeah,
good one.
Yeah.
I think for me it's between Wicked and Dune, but between Emilia Perez and Wicked, I would definitely give it to Wicked. Although Emilia Perez has explosions and stuff and gunshots, and like that's always got to be taken into account when you're talking about sound. But I'm happy to not see a Mission Impossible movie or something like that on here. To be completely honest, I'm so happy that there is no war or Avatar or anything like Dune's the closest thing to that. But and also, if we're going to talk about Dune, I just realized that Hans Zimmer's score is not nominated either for Dune.
They're over it. They're like, we've heard enough zimming.
Yeah, that's wild. I just realized that. Wow. Anyway, Alex, what do you think about sound?
I actually would give the edge to Emilia probably, just because to me, I mean, I'm not clear. Like, sound seems one of those things. Like, everything is sound. What is sound? But like,
Yeah.
So on the subject of like which movie stood out from the sound perspective? I mean, Wicked is a musical. I mean, they're both musicals, I guess, but like, yeah, their singing isn't special. So to me, sound like design comes into play, and things like when you mentioned Dune, I think of, okay, like that's a movie that's going to have to use sound to make the desert and the alien world and the technology all come to life, right? So movies like that, I find kind of maybe have the edge in that category. Between Wicked and Emilia, I think Emilia Perez, the film did just by maybe just by virtue of the style of singing, it was just a more interesting thing. Like, for example, when we first meet Martinez, the drug lord, and
the whispering.
His sort of devilish,
that is a very
like,
interesting scene.
Yeah, and like, so those kinds of things, the movie does have a number of those like lower whispery type things going on. But yeah, I think just the way the movie kind of like the way those sounds matter and impacted the experience of that movie compared to Wicked, where if anything, like my biggest takeaway for sound was see it in like ultra IMAX, so that you can get a wall of sound, so it just feels like you're in a live huge musical setting. Like, that was my biggest kind of like thing. It's just that it's a big loud musical, make it a big loud musical. So on that basis, I would probably edge it out to Emilia, but yeah, probably in the grander scheme, my inclination would be to give it to Dune. But yeah, it all comes down to kind of like, what is the movie doing with sound to either build the world or make moments like atmospheric and interesting and that kind of a thing, right? And I'm sure Wicked could be said to do a number of those things as well. I just, in my experience watching them, nothing really stood out in that way for me.
You're right. Yeah. So earlier I talked about two things that I thought that Wicked could have done a little bit better, that really detracted and like kind of distracted me at times. And one of them, they're nominated for visual effects, but one of the things that was extremely distracting to me was I loved all of the physical sets. Those were beautiful, but anytime they were outside, they didn't use almost any natural outside. It
Like
was
natural
all
lighting or
CGI. It was all CGI outsides, the ground, the sky, like any natural element.
Matt might have a
cliff,
contention here.
or anytime there was a sky showing or any of that. It was all so.
No,
It was all so stark.
Sorry,
I was
Jeanette.
like, you are quite obviously standing not where you are.
A lot of it, they were standing where they were. It was legit outside. Like Munchkinland was all.
Although
like,
I agree with both of you.
The tulips were all outside at the beginning.
When she runs away, one of the scenes that stands out really bad to me, aside from a couple of other scenes where she's flying over the town, those did not look good. But the scene where she runs out into that field to the edge of that
Wizard and
cliff,
I. Yeah.
Wizard
yeah,
and I. She's jumping around in the
that
sky.
that scene was like, I was like, oh, nothing in this scene is real, and it's
Was
so
it was a real wheat field. It's a legit.
stop.
Yeah.
Oh, it
So
looks so
Jeanette, I
bad.
agree
It
with
looked
you.
like
I agree with you.
CGI.
It
Yeah.
looked
I
like
don't know.
CGI. The whole
I
movie
don't
looked like
know if
CGI to me.
I don't know if the cliff was real, but like the vast field of wheat or whatever that crap was.
At the
that
end
was
where she's running through.
Yeah.
Did they have her
Huh.
cable attached to her when she jumped?
I think so. Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I don't know. It all looked the outside scenes really looked jarring for me. And anytime there was a CGI, what was the other one? Oh,
Monkey.
when they're in the scene in Oz out in the courtyard where they have, I love the scene with the Ozian players, the play, but then right afterwards
Oh,
they're
yeah.
like standing there and the backdrop of the city is behind them. And I'm sure there was a physical set, but then there was like CGI put over it or something, or they put a filter on it. Something looked like, a lot of the backgrounds when they weren't in rooms to me looked jarring. I was like, oh, I don't know. That was one thing that stood out to me.
Yeah, I wasn't jarred myself, but I did. Because when we watched the movie, Matt and I had this discussion where Matt kind of brought up that so much that you wouldn't expect was practical from the film.
Yeah,
and
I
to
loved
me,
all the things that looked like those indoor sets. Those were beautiful.
yeah. Now, to me, I don't have a bias against like CGI, so it didn't. It to me, when I see something that looks like CGI, unless it looks like bad CGI,
I just
I
want
don't
it to be
care.
as good as like Avatar. I'm like, I can't take this like almost as good. I'm like, I need it to like go
You've been
all the way.
spoiled. The standard has been set.
And
Yeah.
then the other thing was, and I think it is Wicked nominated for cinematography. Hold on.
No.
No. Okay. The other
Ang-
thing was, I didn't like how closely shot a lot of the scenes were, specifically the
Really?
popular scene.
Like
I
close
felt
to
like they were
people?
really, I feel like they could have been just a little bit back. The part that made me realize it was right after popular, when Glenda's dancing down the hallway and they did get farther away, and I was like, oh, this is what I was looking for in the scene that just happened. I was looking, because when she was dancing, specifically when she pops her leg out behind her, they
Yeah.
showed it like really close. I was like, that would have been so much funnier and more impactful if we had seen that, like where I saw the bed and her at the same time.
Mhm.
And there were a lot of the musical numbers honestly at the ballroom too. I was like, can you zoom out and show me like more of everybody dance? Like, it just felt real tight every time they were doing this stuff. And I wanted to see, but then I was like, well, maybe then people would just criticize it and say it was like a recorded stage production.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
I wanted to see more of it and to feel more impact from it.
Interesting. Yeah.
at that point, it didn't bother me. I definitely know, what you're identifying, and again, and that was even addressed in the interview I was watching with Alice Brooks earlier today, where she said her whole objective was just having everything grounded in the relationship between Glinda and Elphaba, and that informed all of her choices, like in terms of lenses and in terms of focal length and how close she wanted to be. And so she would usually opt for like the intimate options to just try to be as close to the two of them as possible. And like popular is an example that she brought up, like when they're looking in the mirror, for example, and she puts a flower in her hair and it's like, look at you, you're beautiful. And the dance scene as well. So it was definitely a choice. It didn't bother me, but I do see value in wanting some wider shots. I think with popular specifically, again, this came up in Alice's interview. She was talking about how that was the smallest set that they had, and like they had to work around that limitation, basically. So that would have probably been more of a physical thing, but overall, I'm still angry that she didn't get nominated. I don't know if she deserved to win, but I definitely feel like she deserved a nomination because I think the work that she did was just so like technically well done, but the level of thought that was put into it, I feel, is just so beautiful. And granted, the same could probably be said about any cinematographer, because obviously anyone who's doing that job is going to be putting thought into it. But I don't know. I feel like she has such an inherent understanding of how visuals are going to serve narrative. And I don't think that's a given with cinematographers, at least with my very limited film school experience of them, which is not fair because like those are all 20-year-olds who are ego driven. But still, I feel like cinematographers can easily veer towards what will look cool versus what will serve narrative. And I think her strength is that she has such a beautiful understanding of how you can visually complement what's happening at the heart of the story. And like my favorite thing that she said in terms of how she shot things was the contrast between how she visually depicted Glinda and Elphaba is that she wanted the sun to be rising with Glinda and the sun to be setting with Elphaba. So that's why Popular like is lit with that beautiful sunrise pink vibe that just kind of intensifies as the song goes on. And that's why for Defying Gravity, it gets progressively darker as the song goes on and gets more intense until it's basically sunset. And then she like flies off into it. I feel like it serves the mood of what's happening so beautifully. And on top of that, just the physical hurdles that she had to go through, like especially for Dancing Through Life with the tornado wheel in the library. Like there's one really impressive shot that everyone thinks is CGI. That's not, where there's like this parkour guy who like jumps over the camera and the camera tracks him. So like it's facing the back of the tornado wheel. It essentially goes over, like it does a 180-degree thing and then it pushes in such a way that like they had to work around this giant moving structure, a legit acrobat jumping over the camera who could only physically do the take 4 times. And then they had to like move through all the dancers. Like there were so many hurdles that she had to go through to make the movie look as cool as it does. And I'm angry she didn't get a nomination.
Yeah. I'm like, once again, I'm looking here and I'm like, cinematography, who's up? And it's some movie that it doesn't have any other nominations. Maria? I'm like, now I haven't seen Nosferatu, but I am going to before the Oscars, and I have a feeling that I'm probably going to come out of this voting for that, just judging by the pieces I have seen.
I think so. I agree.
But The Brutalist, that seems to be the thing that everybody is screaming about with that movie, is the cinematography. So, you know, who knows? Production design, did they both get nominated? No, just Wicked.
Just Wicked.
I would say it's probably, to me, it would be, I don't know, Dune could come out again being a contender, but I would say between Nosferatu and Wicked.
Yeah. Or I think we mentioned this with Conclave as well. Like if they did in fact recreate the Vatican to the point where it can pass as the legit Vatican, I think there's something worth rewarding there. The reason
like Zone of Interest. Yeah. Like to that point, like if you recreated a thing and really recreated it,
like, you just assume they shot in the place, but they actually didn't. I think there's a lot to be said there. The edge I would give to Wicked would be, again, outside of my own bias, I think one of the things Wicked does really well, specifically with production design, is that it feels right for what I think people's expectations are for what Oz looks like.
Yeah.
Which is so much easier said than done, considering that they have no legal right to any visuals from the 1939 movie, which is what most people know. But it still feels like the world of that movie while being distinctly its own thing. And it still brings in elements from the book, from the stage show a little bit. Like it feels like the Wizard of Oz in a way that I feel similar to how like Conclave, you just assume and take for granted that's the Vatican, even though it's not. Wicked, I think, feels like the Wizard of Oz in a way that feels easier than it was to pull off.
Yeah. There's a lot of strong contenders in that category though, in production design. I hadn't really paid attention to that, but they're not, knock on wood, I'm so happy, blah blah blah, like we are coming back to a world where there's more and more practical sets again, and that makes me happy.
Yeah, as long as it goes to something that was built and not animated.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where with Dune and Wicked, I'm kind of like, what was, what wasn't, blah blah blah. But the more I find out about Wicked, the more I find out more and more of it was practical. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, they built all of Shiz. That whole building was like, the exterior at least was a real thing that they built.
It is beautiful. All the really tangible stuff is really, really beautiful.
They built a giant witch and set it on fire.
I know. Well, Aaron goes, "Oh, Burning Man." I go, or Wicker Man, depending on how you look at it. One thing, if we can just a little, like, I don't know, it's not really housekeeping, but as a nod to a movie we've covered, Conclave, we might be living through another real life conclave soon.
Oh, that's fun.
What's happened? What happened with Francis?
He has double pneumonia.
Not one.
That's fun. He has
in
2
both lungs. Yes. So yeah, I do hope for him to come out of this well, because who knows who we'll end up with after that. But and it really matters right now in the world. So like I mean, what a beautiful time to have just watched that movie. I hope it's
Just
turtle.
Just like watching Wicked after everybody trusted the man who was lying to them and villainized the woman who had everyone's best interests at
And
heart.
the one who's rounding people up and putting them in cages. I mean, it could just these movies are all extremely pertinent right now. Truly. I mean, really beautiful films to be watching right now.
And vampires are out there as well, Nosferatu. So, all the things.
Skarsgårds are out there for sure.
Exactly.
Saying I mean, throw a rock and you hit a movie with a Skarsgård in it. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying.
I was just imagining like different Skarsgård like family members like dressed up as clowns, like roaming the streets, just like.
Yeah, I mean, there's at least
Playing the
3 of.
most
I mean, there
dangerous
might be
game.
more by now. There's at least 3 of them, and they're all in movies like every day. I'm like, oh, I just saw another Alexander Skarsgård movie advertised today. I was like, oh, cool.
Oh yeah.
Oh, nepotism. How we love it. As long as they're talented, though, and
I was gonna say they're really good, though.
Yeah. For the most part, nepotism it can only help so much. I feel like you do have to have talent to keep working. Is the main.
I agree.
Yeah. So there we go. Anything else to say about Wicked before we go to the game, or Emilia Perez? I forgot we're here to talk about that movie too.
No, I think just that they are both very pertinent right now. Now that we're thinking about that sort of thing, they're both, they both have a message that's very valuable right now.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a thing, but you go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, no, I remembered one of the things I wanted to say about Emilia Perez earlier on, which we've long moved past it, but while I was watching it, I kept on thinking about how will this movie age, and I don't think it will age that well, but it reminded me of the movie In and Out with Kevin Kline, if anyone has ever seen that.
I love that movie. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I used to watch it a lot.
Like, I think In and Out, as well as Emilia Perez, I think both of them are movies that are well-intentioned, but will not age very well as people like learn more.
As it becomes more normal in and of itself. But that's where I think Emilia Perez, like, I almost feel like it kind of intends, like I said, I feel like it intends to be a caricature of itself in some way.
I would like to believe that, but I
know. I don't know that they meant it to, but that might just be the operetta part of it. It's melodramatic, right? Like that's an opera.
I agree with I do like that. Like I didn't know that about it. Like that it either that it's referred to in that way or that it exists like as an unofficial operetta like prior to the movie. But like I like hearing you say that today, like it did make me like look back at it, reflect back, and be like, oh, like that makes a lot of like it makes some sense. Like it makes it. I think I could judge certain aspects of it, like or understand certain aspects of it, because I think there is a difference between operetta and musical, for example, when it comes to like, what the songs are born out of, right? In musical theater and classical musical theater, you have this idea of like songs happen when the emotions are so intense or elevated that words are not
want enough. And the adventure or the journey, and then the conclusion,
and whereas operetta predates that and it isn't as strict in terms of when the song kind of comes,
it's a little loosey goosey on how it progresses its story too.
But I do think like apropos like or back to this like the thing of like what do we take away, like one of the things that I made a note of for like the theme, or not the theme but like the conclusion, is being a crime lord doesn't pay. Beautiful moral right there. Right. Martinez or whatever, like Martinez, he or they, she, Emilia, the conclusion is they suffered for their past, and arguably rightfully so. So I don't think that's going to age poorly.
It was a little.
But then she's still celebrated. She leaves.
Sure, but celebrated for the good things that she did. Right. Like it's not like people are, it's and the celebration of that doesn't necessarily, it doesn't validate or justify anything wrong or evil. It doesn't directly, as far as we know, lead to anything evil, right? So it's like, and she doesn't benefit from it because she's dead.
He's dead. So. I guess one element of the movie, I wasn't clear on whether or not it was trying to say that in becoming Emilia, she was able to like embrace her true self and make amends for what she did previously by starting the charity or the NGO or whatever. But it almost felt like the movie was pushing that message forward of like, it doesn't matter what she did before because she wasn't living her true self back then. Now that she is, she could do good. And I was like, is the movie trying to make the argument that what she did as in her crime lord life doesn't matter anymore?
Or that she's two different people? Like,
yeah, or that she's
no,
two
she's it's like, no, she's
I don't
really,
think
she's
so at
one
all.
person.
The movie has, I think that scene when she, like, I think the whole sequence when she like starts getting aggressive about her kids with Selena Gomez, I think that like totally contradicts that sentiment. Like it's such an explicit show of like, oh, she's still who she was. Like she's not like she's different. She's it's a whole new world for her, but that doesn't invalidate the human being that she was prior.
She was doing bad for bad before, and now she's doing bad for good.
Sure. Or
like
whatever,
she wants to. She still has the capability of and will.
Yeah. Like I think that was such an explicit like, no, this is not a like they're not magically a good person because they're trans. Like I think the movie does a decent job of not conflating that and being like, no. There's there's still that darkness in there, and
like we like to say, there's a-holes everywhere, right?
Yeah. But I did want to say, I did make a note that seemingly Zoe Zeldana, is that her name? Zoe Zeldana?
Saldana, yeah.
Saldana with an S.
Zoe Saldana, yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say 2 Z sounds. That's crazy.
Zoe
Saldana. I'm pretty sure her English accent is like bonkers throughout the film. Like I think the first time we hear her speak English is potentially when she's in like Korea or wherever she is, or not Korea, Bangkok in Thailand. Yeah. And she's saying, yes. And I think in that scene she has a decently thick like Hispanic accent or Latin accent.
She doesn't have a Hispanic accent in real life.
I know. No. I'm saying.
I thought you were saying like she had a bad
No. Throughout the movie, she goes from like having a thick Hispanic accent to not having a thick Hispanic accent. Oh yeah. English. She's like, yes, I want vagina plastic. Well, I can't. I'm gonna fuck. But anyway, yeah, she. That's something that I wanted to clock there. That I think is a knock against Zoe Saldana's performance.
Matt, I was shocked that song was available on Instagram.
I wasn't. I was
so shocked. I was like, "Oh my god, yes, please!" That is the most sing-songy song of the whole movie. Like, it's like I can actually sing this song.
I see. So good. All right. Well, Emilia Perez has no bearing in the game tonight. It's entirely Wicked and Wizard of Oz.
It's an entirely Wicked game.
Yes, it is. So we are playing Wicked/Wizard of Oz before and after. Yes.
Nice.
So,
okay.
I don't know, Alex, have you played before and after here with us? I can't remember.
What's before and after?
So I will give you a clue, and the answer is going to be like a mashup of 2 phrases into one thing. So,
like,
I have played. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, if you were a sandwich from the sea, peanut butter and jellyfish. Like,
yeah. That's like good. That's good. Peanut butter and
jellyfish. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Hold
on.
It's one of my favorite types of puzzles. I don't know why.
It's so fun.
I think it's Wheel of Fortune. I just grew up with Wheel of Fortune. I'm like,
I went to ChatGPT to help me come up with these, so I can't take credit for them. Granted, I had to like get ChatGPT to give me like 100 before I settled on 10 that I liked, but here we are. So this will just be shouted out if you think you know it, and whoever gets it gets the point. So
this is just like 2-person charades or some shit, right?
Yeah, basically. Well, just don't have your mouth full so you can shout, Alex.
Yeah,
but I'm hungry.
Does it have to be aerated for the flavor to come out, Alex? Because you seem to be chewing with your mouth open. Okay, here we go.
I don't think I was.
Our first before and after. Here we go. Elphaba likes to be in America. Okay for her in America.
Oh, you say the thing. Yes. Gotcha.
Everything free in America. Elphaba likes to be in America.
Huh? Say the whole thing again.
Elphaba likes to be in America. Okay for her in America. Everything free in America.
Oh, okay.
Is it
Wicked West Side Stories.
What was
He
that?
said it.
Wicked Witch of the West Side Story.
Yes, Wicked Witch of the West Side Story.
We both went to say it at the same time, and I said word salad, and Alex actually got it out.
Alex, you got a point. Okay.
I said all the words in the wrong order.
Next, the Munchkins sang this about Ryan Reynolds' MCU character.
The Wicked Witch is Deadpool?
That Ding Dong, the Wicked Witch is Deadpool?
Yes, Ding Dong, the Wicked Witch is Dead. Who got that?
I give that to Jeanette because she was on the track first.
I started to say Ding Dong.
She gave me the inspiration to say what I said.
I was looking for Ding Dong, but yes.
Yeah.
All right. Next. Actually, I don't know if either of you will get this, but we'll see. Did you hear? The Tin Man is starring in a musical about Don Quixote.
Oh, the Tin Man La Mancha?
Yes, the Tin Man of La Mancha.
There
we go. I'm impressed you knew that, Jeanette. Well done. All right. Next. This is Bach's favorite animated movie about when dinosaurs roamed Munchkinland. This is Bach's favorite animated movie about a time when dinosaurs roamed Munchkinland.
I know who Bach is. I'm pretty sure I know the movie you're talking about.
Land Before Munchkin Time? The land?
Yeah, the land before time to be a munchkin. Time. The land before Time Dragon?
I know that sounds like the Time Dragon.
We're both so close.
It is the Land Before Time, not Jurassic Park. Okay.
Bach's favorite animated movie about a time when dinosaurs roamed Munchkinland.
Munchkin, the governor of Munchkin.
The Munchkin Land Before Time.
Oh, wait. What's
Munchkin Land Before Time is correct.
Okay.
Munchkin Land Before Time. Thank you. All right. Dorothy chanted this while tapping her heels and wishing to watch her favorite Macaulay Culkin movie.
There's no place like Home Alone.
That's correct. There's no place like Home Alone.
Thank
All right. Did you hear? Jeff Goldblum is starring in a remake of that Will Smith movie with the robots.
The Wizard and I, Robot.
The Wizard and I, Robot is correct.
I don't know why I was thinking I Am Legend. The I was like, what?
All right. Next, this is what Fierro sang while he was trapped on a raft with a tiger.
Dancing Through Life of Pi.
That's correct. That was so quick.
I had just gone to The Life of Pi in my head.
All right. Oh, this one might be tricky. Oh, no. Henry Cavill had to step in to play the wizard. I guess he'll be singing this.
The Superman and I? Superman of... Oh, what does he even sing? What the hell does he say? It's man of something. Man of...
Oh.
Super Sentimental Man.
Sentimental Superman?
You're very close.
I'm a sentimental Superman. I'm a sentimental Man of Steel.
Yes, Sentimental Man of Steel is correct.
Oh, okay. Okay.
All right. Next. Fun fact, Nessa Rose was almost cast in this 2007 David Cronenberg movie.
I feel like
Everything's coming up, Nessa Rose.
Nessa Rose was almost Nessa Rose. Say it again.
I don't know who David Cronenberg is. I know the name.
Fun fact: Nessa Rose was almost cast in this 2007 David Cronenberg film.
2007.
2007.
This is a wheelchair joke?
No.
I think it has to do with her name, Rose, but I can't remember what Cronenberg movie has the word Rose in it.
Don't think so much about her name. Think of her title, her eventual title.
She's the governess of Munchkin or something. The governor or governess of Munchkinland. Something like that.
Her other title.
She's
the Wicked Witch of the
East. What was the 2007 Cronenberg East?
He made the movie called Eastern Promises. Wicked Witch of the Eastern Promises.
Wicked Witch of the
Oh, there
Eastern
you go.
Promises.
Okay, I was like, I don't remember which one was
I didn't know that.
Cronenberg.
Did you read Ben's comment?
Oh no, and I should close the chat. I have the thing open.
How did you get that,
literally-
Alex?
I just Eastern Promises is that the one
Yeah.
with Viggo Mortensen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen the movie, but
Yep.
it's just I didn't know that David Cronenberg made that film or that it came out in 2007, but it was just word association game.
I actually put that one in specifically hoping Ben would be playing in the chat. I kind of wrote it just for Ben. So there we go. Next. Okay, this is the last one in the regular round. This one might be too much of a deep cut on all fronts, but we'll find out. Little known fact. Luke Bryan wrote this country song for a girl from Fierro's hometown. Oh,
Yeah,
Lisa,
that's
we
a
love
deep cut
you.
of him. I don't know what
Winky
that
Country
man
Road?
sings.
Oh, Alex is close.
I don't know who Luke Bryan is and what songs
He sang that country song. That is the answer to
Country Roads.
No, not that one.
No, that was Little Nas, I thought.
Country. No.
Alex, you sang this song in Country Super. No, well, you sang with the group. You weren't the solo,
Gotcha. Like a rhinestone cowboy, Winky Country.
No.
Winky. He is from Winky. I'm like, what would that even?
Winky Country, something.
This is our Winky town. This is our. Shake it for me, Winky girl.
What was it?
What? What? I don't know.
you-
Is that his song? Is that the one he sings? I'm trying to remember what he sings.
I feel like you just need to put certain pieces in the right
Winky
order.
Country, shake it for me, girl.
Shake it for me, Winky country girl. Shake it. I don't know.
Winky Country Girl.
Yeah.
Shake
The
it
words
for
don't
me.
go in the right order.
Yes! There we go. Winky Country Girl, shake it for me.
I said that the first
Oh.
time, didn't I?
You
Or did I
said
say shake
Winky
it for me,
Girl, shake it for country or something.
No, I said it the right
Well,
way.
you got the point. You got the point.
Yeah.
Okay, Alex, you have 6 points. Jeanette, you have 4. Probably.
3. Oh.
4. There we go. How many points do we want to wager for the bonus round?
I guess I'll.
All. Okay. Alex?
Let's do it.
All?
Of course.
Okay.
It's already happened. It's already over.
All right. Actually, you will need to write down your answer for the bonus question to give both of you a fair shot. You have now the opportunity to quadruple your points. Here we go. This is your bonus question. In the land of Oz, there are 4 countries, not counting Emerald City, which is its own thing in the middle. It's like Washington, D.C. We don't count that. There are 4 countries in in the land of Oz. Please name them. For each country that you get, we will add your wager to your existing point balance. There's 4. We've said at least 2 of them on this. Actually, we've only said 2 of them on this program tonight.
Let me type it instead of writing it because it looks awful. I'll show you my screen. I'm not looking at anything. I'm typing.
I'll give you bonus points if you could say which one is north, east, south, and west.
Oh, God. Okay.
Vince's answer is funny.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right.
Yeah, I guess I am too.
All right. Let's start with Jeanette. We'll start with Jeanette.
I got 2 of them that I know of, and one of them is Winky Country, and I said that's in the north, and then Munchkin Land is in the east.
All right. Hold on. So I have to figure out what you got. Okay. Alex?
Winky Country is in the west. Munchkin Land is in the south. Northland is in the north, and Easterville is in the east.
What is this? The Nightmare Before Christmas?
Well, Alex, you won just by numbers.
Yes.
Vince's answers were funny too. So what we got is we have Munchkinland, which is in the east. Hence,
Yay!
Westeros becomes the Wicked Witch of the east.
That's the only reason I knew that one.
Winky Country is in the west, which is
Okay.
where Fiyero is from, and the castle that we see at the beginning is his castle, where the witch melts eventually. Then we have Quadling Country, which is in the south. And then there's Gillikin Country, which is where Shiz lives, is located in the north.
Ah, okay.
Yes.
I almost said Animal Country and Dark Forest were my other impossible answers.
The Forbidden Forest.
Also, actually, Alex, have you seen Return to Oz? I can't remember.
No.
No? But Jeanette's seen Return to Oz. We've discussed
Very long time ago. I wasn't on that episode. Miriam was
weren't?
there, but I was not. No, I was in Disney World, I think.
Oh my gosh. What a shame. Anyway, I was going to say one of my favorite deep cuts of Oz lore is that they show us the Deadly Desert in during The Wizard and I, that cliff that she's singing on. We see desert.
Yeah, they show it on the map in this one. They say the untrekkable or unpassable desert. Yeah.
Yeah. Because in the books and in Return to Oz, if anything living touches the sand, it turns into sand and dies instantly.
Oh.
So, yes. I just think it's so fitting that she's singing a song of optimism while looking out at a desert that will kill anybody.
That's a very Greek thing. That's a very Greek mythology of and Egyptian, that part of the world type mythology.
I can see it. Pseudo-Midasy, just less valuable because sand.
Yeah.
Vince says, a lot of folks don't know this. The song Defying Gravity was repurposed from an old song from a failed musical about dentistry. It used to be called Finding Cavities. I did not know that. It's funny.
I don't think it's true.
It might be, though. We don't know. In Trump's America, anything you say can be true, Alex. That's the beauty of America.
Truth is subjective now.
Exactly.
Just by definition, not true.
Only time will tell.
Only time will tell.
Only time will tell. It's
Well,
true.
there it is, everyone. Hooray! Wicked and
Happy
Emilia
birthday,
Perez.
Matt.
Thank
Yay.
you. Yay. We're back in 1 week from today for our favorite. It's the prediction show. I don't care about this year's movies. They're all kind of boring, but whatever.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
You like Wicked, though.
I love Wicked, but that's the and also Wicked I don't even count as an Oscar movie. I know it's nominated for a bunch of things, but it's not going to win any of them.
And the only ones that are still nominated for Best Picture that I am determined, not to say determined, but that I really want to try to see before the Oscars is The Brutalist. Other than that, I could really care less if I see him, but I do want to see Nosferatu.
I'd like to see that as well.
I want to see Nickel Boys. See if I could handle that type of horror, I would want to see Nosferatu, but I just know I won't be able to stomach it or make it through it because
if you made it through The Substance, I think you're going to be fine with Nosferatu.
I don't know. Well, I forced myself to watch The Substance. I'm not interested enough in Nosferatu, and also vampires are the scariest monsters. So I don't like to watch vampire movies because they scare me.
They're so sexy.
Yeah,
awesome.
I don't think Nosferatu's a sexy one. I think he's like the ultimate thing that scares me about vampires. He's like the most.
He's ugly.
He's ugly. He's
the most ugly.
So much blood. Vampires scariest monsters, and also they violate your personal space.
That's why I like them.
Most monsters violate your personal space by
but vampires it's so intimate. They bite into you, and they.
I love that all the reasons you're giving why you don't like them is all the reasons. That I love them.
But it's non-consensual.
No, but it is. At least they force you to consent. They're like, look into my eyes. Now you consent.
Pain. No pain.
No,
Sorry, that's from the new Interview with the Vampire TV show, which goes off the rails, but I love it all the same.
Maybe one day during Vampire Month or a whole weekend, a Vampire Weekend.
Can we have Vampire Month and completely exclude Twilight? Just to tick
I was going to say we should do
off.
Twilight. Twilight will make Matt like vampires, not fear.
I freaking hate Twilight.
No, not
Twilight.
Not fear them.
I've seen Twilight though.
Exactly. You're not afraid of those vampires.
I don't want him to disrespect them.
I don't count those as vampires. Those aren't.
They are. They're vampires.
You know what you are. Say it.
Anyway.
That's
Yeah.
right.
But yeah,
That's right.
that is one I want to see before Oscars.
Right.
Hopefully.
Oh, Blade. Okay.
Oh,
All right.
dude,
Here we go.
Blade.
It's
Praise be.
it's
Love
that
Blade.
time of the night. Tell everyone who you are, what you do, and whatever else. We'll start with Jeanette.
Hello. Well, first off, once again, happy birthday to Matt, and
Thank you.
everybody needs to go give him love. And yeah, so this was fun. I'm happy that we were able to talk about Emilia Perez at all because it's very confounding. Yeah, you can find me here next week doing the thing that I love the most and talking about all of these movies because we're doing predictions. You can find a new episode of We Like Theme Parks podcast that came out today. And you can find that anywhere that you find podcasts. You can find me on Instagram, TinkerJ787. And yeah, so I'll see all you beautiful people next week.
Woo! Thanks, Jeanette.
I love Blade. The look of it, the smell of it, the taste of it, the touch of it, the texture. I love Blade so much I even had to have an emergency phalloplasty because I cut myself with a blade.
That's Austin Powers.
It's true. It's a terrible Travolta playing Goldmember. Actually, no, at the time it was Mike Myers, but then it switches into Travolta at the very end.
The end.
Yeah, that's a crazy movie. We should
good
do an
movie.
Austin Powers month.
I would love to do an Austin Powers month. So there's only 3. I need 4 to round out a month. Unless we just did.
We could do. There's certainly like parodies of like James Bond / like
maybe
copycats of Austin Powers and like other countries and stuff like that.
Actually, what I've wanted
like the Bollywood Austin Powers.
Like I want to do a James Bond month because I've never seen a Bond movie. If we tacked Austin Powers onto James Bond month,
if we figure out the placement of the Austin Powers films within the Pentaverate, it's like triumvirate, but it's Penta. The 5.
It's the Pentaverate was a Mike Myers movie, or actually I think it was like a series that came out, but it was hilarious and it was a lot, in my opinion, a lot like Austin Powers.
Oh,
really
okay.
Yeah, it was like the newest thing he's done. It came out like 2 years ago. Yeah.
Okay. Really so we could do that too. I was gonna say we slide the Austin Powers films in the Bond kind of
that would make
chronology in a way that's interesting.
Only time will tell.
Or we do it with Shrek.
You could do Shrek month. There's enough of those.
It would just be the same.
Oh God!
Please don't do Shrek month.
Don't do Shrek month.
Shrek month.
No, we can do Mike Myers month.
We can do like Shrek Day. Yeah, Mike Myers month.
Yeah. We can have like one day could be like a double feature.
But then it becomes like out of all the people making art out there, is Mike Myers the one who deserves a whole month?
No, but he's the most Canadian. And for that reason, we should do it.
Is he though?
I think so. As an American, he is the most Canadian to me.
Maybe.
That is a valid point. We have to play to our audience here. All right.
Canada movie month. We'll just do that.
Canada Pride.
Paul Gross's Passion Tale. Yeah. Emphasis on the passion. He puts the passion back in Passchendaele, which basically should have been the log line of that movie. Anyway. We're done now. Thank you, folks. How do you end this?